Wide-eyed and on edge, I sat pressed against the hard back of the train seat, thinking back to Mr. Baker's warning to never walk the train alone. I prayed that our traveling companions would be friendly and preferably women. After a few minutes, to my relief, a family bustled in and plopped themselves down across from Izzy and I. There was a father, a mother, and their young daughter of maybe 10 years old. My stomach bubbles began to recede to a simmer. There was a groaning and screeching, and suddenly the train lurched out of the station. I glanced nervously down the narrow, now swaying hallway, which was still overflowing with people making their way to their compartments in a noisy and chaotic manner. The mother smiled and nodded and seemed genuinely interested to interact with Izzy and I. But after 10 or so minutes of verbal struggle, we all fell into silence and were resigned to smile at each other the way that foreigners do when they cannot understand. This is going to be a long 16 hours, I thought. I turned my attention outside the window and watched the countryside roll by. We raced past fields of tall plants surrounded by red earth, rivers filled with children and cows playing in the water, past tiny villages with little colorful shacks, families spilling out of them. I noticed that garbage permeated all of these tiny ecosystems. It floated in the rivers and covered the sides of the tracks. Plastic cups and bags almost appeared to grow out of the earth in some areas. I let the motion of the train lull me into daydreams of what life must be like in one of these villages. Suddenly, there was a sensory eruption inside the train. It snapped me out of my peaceful daydream, bringing me back to the reality of the train, which had devolved into pure chaos. It appeared that everyone was yelling and running from car to car. I immediately began to jump from one paranoid conclusion to the next and sat stunned like a baby animal staring at the family across from us, who did not seem the least bit disturbed. Then, a burst of bright pink came erupting into our train car and showered down all over the five of us. I was terrified. I had no idea the reason for all of the running and yelling, and was sure that this fluorescent powder must be an evil chemical of some sort. But then I saw the little girl's face. She was beaming, and I was instantly calmed. This little girl dipped her hand into some of the powder that had collected on the seat, wiped it on her mother's forehead, and laughing said, "Holly." Her mother smiled and returned the gesture, smearing her daughter's cheeks with the bright magenta. The little girl then turned and started towards Izzy and I. "Holly," she yelled, and launched a handful of powder directly in Izzy's face, leaving her washed in color. I received the same. The girl motioned for us to throw the color back, and so we did. The next round was a deep-sea turquoise delivered by a rowdy crowd that came bustling through our narrow car. "Holly," they screamed, throwing fistfuls of bright powder at all of the car's residents. There were a few more rounds of bright yellow and deep orange, then the train settled back into its normal, quiet hum. A few minutes later, Miss Head, our female chaperone, came bursting through the sliding door, drenched head to toe in splotches of the rainbow. She was grinning. "Guys, it's Holly, the Festival of Colors. Can you believe that they're celebrating on the train?" And in a way, I couldn't.